I haven't seen Bo pop up in a while, so I'd like to see that. So let's see if it comes true.
Well, we know it's not a sword, that's for sure.
Only a 2% chance of that.
$50 right off the bat is great, because you're able to buy bombs if you don't get them in Escape, or if you don't get enough in Escape.
Always handy when you take an uncle's paycheck, that's for sure.
And we get our first map check out of the way super quick. We got crystals at Hera and Eastern Palace, neither of which are 5-6 crystals, and Desert is Blue Pendant.
I've seen Desert be a pendant dungeon more often than not lately. I think just how in the random rolls, and we get a hammer. Interesting.
That is almost the ideal weapon to get started off. It's very strong. If you're used to the hitbox, it's very good. And it's a major progression item.
Yeah, it's great for opening up things in the Dark World once you get in there. Not only that, though, it does tempered sword damage, and it you're not going to use up any magic, so they can use it with Reckless Abandon.
Exactly. And I guess, no, I was going to say I'll start to try to explain this tie, but I'll wait until they're on their way back up from Escape and nothing's really exciting happening. So on the way down here, they are going to be looking to farm bombs, so they don't get stuck with the Nightmare Seed of First Glove in the back of Escape, and no bombs in Escape.
It can be tricky though. The item prize pool is randomized every game too, so it's one of those little tricky behind-the-scenes mechanics that can really make a difference.
Yep, and to top off that randomization, the prize pools that each enemy belongs to are also randomized. So for all you know, your snakes, your rats, and your guards could all be the same prize pool, or they could all be different. Makes it so that you have no reliable way to plan things out.
Definitely puts them on an even playing field. Hopefully, if they don't get any bombs, hopefully they will remember to go back and check it.
Yeah, it's always a concern if you don't get them, but I feel like in Open, I see it get missed a lot more. In Standard, people are super paranoid about it if they don't get there right away and make a point as soon as they can to get there.
I've seen it happen a couple of times where people have forgotten and came back to it later, and it came back to bite them, so it's something you definitely want to keep in the back of your mind.
That absolutely sounds awful. I feel bad for those people.
And, well, I guess we don't have to worry about that. Bombs in Zelda's chest there.
That is perfect. So now, a little bit of background on this tie here. First and foremost, the tie is essentially 4 and 2. You might look at it and think, well, 4, 2, and 1 would be ahead of the 4, 3, so Sinhe's in brackets win or lose. That's not the case. The tie is effectively a loss. So what happened was in the first week race with Sinhe and his opponent, they both actually missed an item location, weren't sure what they had missed, actually got to a point, I believe, if I recall, of thinking the seed was broken before they both forfeited. Eventually they ended up finding out that they had both missed the sick kid check, which had the hook shot, and that had held them up. But due to scheduling, they were not able to reschedule. So that double forfeit just stuck as a double loss.
Ouch, that's tough right there. It's always a pain when you can't think of the item location you missed, and it's just something like that. I mean, that you could usually think of right as you're doing it, but don't end up doing it.
Yeah, it is a very unfortunate thing. I will also point out, if Sinhe wins, he will move on to the brackets with 5 wins, which will leave 2 spots for 4 and 3s to make it in. If Sinhe loses, well, his opponent win percentage is the lowest in the 4 and X category, so he will not likely have any chance to make it in if he loses this match. Meanwhile, SuperJoshh is the 3rd highest opponent win percentage in the 3 and X category, about 10th compared to the foreign X's. So if he wins, there is a chance, depending on how people do this week, that he could leapfrog some people and get into the bracket. So this match is pretty important to both of them.
Yeah, don't. That's nice. It's a lot on the line here.
That it is, and that took up pretty much exactly as long as I expected it to. Probably won't be trying to go through that whole tie scenario again throughout this race. We're going to focus on this race, but wanted to fill everyone in on what happened.
A book, map, and some money. So we got some. We may have some desert in our future anyway.
Yeah, we definitely might. And on top of that, Josh had a little bit of a struggle with a bomb. Thankfully, due to that 3-bomb group, it didn't really matter. He had a backup to use.
Yeah, no worries. And you still got some for Kakariko coming up.
I've had it happen to me where I have one bomb, go to throw it, the rat hits me, and I don't get the bomb, and I'm just like, well, I'm in trouble.
I'd be saying rats on that one.
I'll give that one like a 5 out of 10.
They
That
get
was
better
easy
as I go
mode.
along.
So with more bombs in the Sanctuary, Sinhe is likely headed straight to Lost Woods here. Yep.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of players actually skip Lumberjack Cave until they have the boots to do it, which is it's totally a good strategy. I like to check it myself personally and have that knowledge.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the few things in the early game that is pretty widely different between runners. Most people stay on relatively the same route, but Lumberjack check or not is pretty different between different people.
300 rupees there where Vanilla Mushroom is, so we won't have to worry too much about Zora. And more bombs.
The seed that just keeps on giving, as long as all you want is bombs.
Who needs progression items when you can have bombs?
I mean, bombs are, progression into Sphere 1. You're now able to get all the locations that the game expects you to be able to get at the start. They're kind of progression.
True, but don't you want to go into a Ganon fight with bombs only?
I'm not gonna lie, part of me would really love to see a bomb-only Ganon fight made possible for swordless mode.
There we go. I am liking this idea. And we got a bottle in Blindside, an Ether Medallion.
And the flute.
And a left ventricle. Wow, they got some really nice stuff here to start.
Absolutely. The flute and the bottle are the two things that you want to have for Kakariko, because they let you route everything together at once.
The only thing they don't have is the powder so that they could do a Batcave check.
Yep, it's almost the ideal. The argument for people who don't start at Kakariko is generally looking for bottle and flute, so when they're both here, it's just wonderful if you start going to Kak.
Breathe a sigh of relief right there. And another big 20. That's a possibility of 27 of those and another bottle. Flippers.
And the flippers.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, Kakariko hasn't given us much of the, Dark World progression, that kind of stuff, but it's given us a lot of stuff that could be important in the future.
Yeah, those are some items there, especially the flippers that you want to find those early. You don't want to be hunting those around because it could be in so many different places. A lot like the bow and the ice rod.
Yep, not to mention they make going to Ice Rod Cave just a little bit quicker, even with the flute where you can make it quicker to begin with.
Let's see if the Crazy Chicken Lady's hut has anything useful here too.
The room where everyone used to do the soft lock and the chicken clip until people realized that you could soft lock.
I still do it anyway. It's just fun.
But all we got back there today is a little dinner plate, just, you know, held out in front just in case.
Yummy.
So, kid, I feel like you shouldn't be giving away your heart. You're already sick. Do you really want to give away your health as well?
Just trying to collect on the money. You know.
So we'll be heading down toward Race Game, and then I would expect to see probably a flute over to the dam and heading over to Mini Moldorm Cave.
Yeah, with the flute in hand, that makes everything quick, so you don't have to save and quit, and just another big 20 in the library there.
Get lots of those big 20s out of the way early.
It's always nice. It always stinks. Oh, there's the Moon Pearl at the Race Game.
I just want to give props to Sin for not muscle memorying into the pause menu to get the flute out when they saw the Race Game item.
Yeah, that's tricky. I've had it happen in a couple of runs where I'm like, oh, I don't want to use the flute after all, after I've used it, and oops, I'm going to fly in the Swag Duck Airlines.
So with that Moon Pearl, we just need a Power Glove from somewhere to get Dark World access, so we could be seeing it pretty soon, or it could be ridiculously circuitous to get that.
Well, they got a lot of places they can check before they do, and Sin is checking out the desert. That's a pretty cool play there, checking it out early.
Yeah, early book does point you to desert pretty often. Sometimes you try to hold off on it so you can hope to find the boots, so that if it's boots locked, you already have that taken care of. But I don't dislike the play of going here right away.
Yeah, if nothing works out, you can always do an early Aginus Cave check and then flute over to Swamp.
Sin almost walked away from a nice 4-bomb drop, and I was like, wait a second. Josh, meanwhile, seeds 3 bombs outside the dam, and desert is boots locked 100%.
Disappointment? Oh, but that's okay. We are running over to get to the other exit to get to Aginus Cave here.
You have the rarely seen right-hand exit that is literally only useful in this exact scenario, pretty much.
But that's where it's good to know your dungeons and know your routing, so good routing job with Sin here.
I really want to see the boots in Aginus Cave now.
Hey, you might get your wish. We'll see.
But I was just in desert. Why do I get these now?
No, but more rupees is always nice.
Yep, and with those flippers and Zora in the logic, well, there would have been 300 rupees in Mini Moldorm Cave as well. I was going to say that might be a small advantage, but nope.
And SuperJoshh is the first to get the sword about 13 minutes in.
Sin, what are you doing? What are you doing, Sin? You have the flute.
Sometimes when you get it that early, you forget you have it. I've done that before, so I can't blame him that much. 10 arrows on the island, so no jumping over there.
Yep, and Josh headed right up to the hobo while Sin does these damn Mini Moldorm checks that yielded just a sword and nothing else really of note.
Hey, at this early phase, getting a sword is great. Because you don't want to be looking for it too much, even if you do have the hammer, because the hammer's got the wonky hitbox. There's your boots, Josh. Mentos.
Yep, there they are, and nothing beats having boots 15 minutes into a seed.
And some victory slashes there, and using warp number 8 to go over to Ice Rod Cave. That's probably the quickest way to do it, actually.
Yep, definitely was the quickest way to get over there. Unfortunately, with the boots on Hobo, you couldn't use the boots to water walk your way over to Hobo at a faster speed than swimming, but, you know, you can't win them all.
And here's where Phantom Ryu can go nuts. Ladies and gentlemen, the Cane of Samaria.
That's a good place to find Kane. I don't expect Sin to skip Ice Rod Cave, especially with having the flute already, but it is one of those places where your opponent might miss it for a while.
Yeah, I've seen races won and lost by that Ice Rod Cave, so even if it is one of those one-off locations, peace of mind is always a great item to have.
And that is exactly where Sin is headed, and going to use those flippers, as I mentioned, to make this a little bit quicker. Not as quick as the boots made it, but it is a little bit faster to jump through the water than walk around.
And Josh filling up a bottle and gets bees. So the fairy is a beekeeper.
I feel like that's pretty mean. Like, yeah, you came all this way, you gave me this bottle, here, have a bee. When you let it out, hope it doesn't sting you.
Yeah, it kind of stings when you get that, I agree. And big 20 on Zora Ledge, so I don't know. I'm feeling like Zora's just going to have more life lessons for us, as we've usually seen lately.
Yeah, I'd definitely be inclined to think that the chain, so to speak, was flippers to Hobo to Desert. But it'll be interesting. Sin is going straight here. When will Sin make it up to the Hobo?
Who knows? Hopefully soon here.
Also, shoutouts to the better Boomerang on Zora. It's still a life lesson, because Boomerang isn't all that great, but it's better than a lot of life lessons.
Yeah, I'm going to say that's probably the best thing I've seen come out of Zora in a long time, so I'll take it.
Josh doing what a lot of people do and checking the bonk rocks immediately when the chance comes up after boots and routing.
It's really easy to forget about that bonk rock location. I've forgotten about it a couple of times myself. So you definitely want to keep those really weird one-off locations in mind. So bonk rock, spike cave, graveyard ledge.
Okay, and Josh is heading to Desert, where the seed is pretty much screaming to go. So I'm expecting we'll find our glove in here.
Hopefully so. Otherwise, it is well, it's a pendant dungeon, but even if Moldorm couldn't have it, Land Molus couldn't have it. Excuse me. Wow.
Words are hard sometimes. Also, shoutouts to Sin for taking the quicker way to get Hobo done in this situation. Just get the Zora and Waterfall out of the way from one way, and then go to Link's house and use that to go to Hobo.
Yeah, definitely good routing on that part. It's Hobo's definitely a weird little out of the way location, so I suspect Sin will be heading back to Desert as well, and there is our small key.
So Desert decides to give the least convenient routing and say, hey, here's the small key, go all the way to the right, get the big key, and then come all the way back to the left for the big chest. Doesn't that sound fun?
It does. Why do you want to give me a runaround? Make me feel like a blues traveler.
Well played on that one. Well played. So we're getting compass and big key on the right side, so there is definitely nothing except for what's in that big chest that we can access in Desert right now.
And we're checking Sahasrara's closet, and we find just love and money.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Can't complain too much on the heart containers in the early going, though. Definitely having more health is better at these early times.
Yep, you never complain about one that's right in the way, and 300 rupees in Desert. Desert was not the play. And of course, there's an item on Land Molus that they can't access right now, because they need a glove and a fire source to do so.
Lovely red herring. I don't know. I don't know if you like fish or not, but I'm sure Josh doesn't anymore.
That's a pretty solid guess. And that also means that Eastern is probably the play here. Sin is probably going to find something.
Well, found arrows is one of the 3 items.
Yeah, that didn't really fit the something that I was envisioning, but, you know, an extra quiver doesn't hurt.
It gets the point across.
SuperJoshh gonna get his extra money from Agina's cave while we find the big key on the right side of Eastern.
Good, good, good. We'll be able to check the big chest without having to reroute it back in.
Yep, and at this point there's a potential that all 3 items in Eastern could be available before the logic lock of Lamp. As mentioned, words are hard.
Oh, goodness, yes. Especially this early morning. Tower Repair has been kindly providing me with coffee, so I appreciate that. There's our glove.
Yep, and that's Dark World access, so gonna check this big chest, probably the dark chest if this isn't the item, and then head right into the Dark World.
I don't blame him, so hopefully Aga remains very much dead unless we find out that it is a progression item they needed after all, and then yank the chain back.
Yep, since neither of these 2 check Lumberjack Cave, Aga isn't quite dead yet. He's on life support, but he's not likely to be required in any way, shape, or form.
But we all know that chat loves trolls, so I know they're gonna keep that respirator going.
So Sin moving through the dark rooms, these are some of the easiest ones in the game. I think at this point the vast majority of runners end up knowing at least those 2 rooms.
Yeah, especially me. I absolutely hate dark rooms, but I'm more than willing to do those 2.
And Armos Knights have the 3rd item of Eastern Palace, so we'll have to come back with the bow and see what they got later.
Thankfully, that's one of the very few item locations that you will not be finding bow.
And Sin electing to go check Bonkrox, then we'll see if he heads over to check the Lumberjack tree afterwards.
And there is the possibility, too, of taking a little peek into Death Mountain, if he's comfortable with the dark room anyway.
Oh yeah, Sin is absolutely comfortable with, I think, every dark room in this game. But with Death Mountain only having 1 item you can access in Logic, I don't think I'd see a play up there.
I wouldn't either, but I would pretty much only go up there if I wanted to set the waypoint at this point.
Yeah, with Flute, it's definitely the fastest save and quit spot, so it's not a bad idea.
That too, I keep forgetting about that early Flute. It doesn't happen often.
And that was a piece of heart on Lumberjack Ledge, so Aghanim is 100% dead.
Sorry guys, he had heart problems.
And Sin's got this book out, which implies to me that he might be making a trip up to check the pedestal on his way into the Dark World.
Early ped check, you have the book, why not? If you know you gotta do ped and your opponent doesn't, well then that's some great knowledge to have, even though it's not knowledge that you want to have.
Yep, and if nothing's on the pedestal, then you get to kill both of Chat's dreams very, very quick after each other.
That would be sad for Chat, but Chat, we love you. We really do.
Ten arrows.
Sorry, Chat, but Ped is indeed dead.
Okay, so listen, what if they're about to go to Ganon's Tower and they have no arrows and they already have all 3 pendants? You know, maybe then you're like, hey, this might be a quick arrows.
Sure, why not? We'll go with that. On the 0.00001 chance.
Yeah, I would not bet on it for even about a penny, but you know, there's that off chance that something ridiculous could happen.
And it looks like we have our red pendant in Skull and green pendant in Ice with a red crystal in Mire.
You have Mire and Thieves Town the 5-6. So that's not a bad layout. The Skull Woods pendant is kind of sad because it's a very, very quick dungeon. But Ice is nice to see if it doesn't end up required.
Nice Master Sword from the chess game. And if Ice does happen to be required, well, potential of actually 4 items coming out of it if you beat Cold Steer and get the green pendant and bring it back to Sahasrahla.
Absolutely, and Josh is making the same play to the Dark World over here above Kakariko. It's another one of those splits among the community. A lot of people try to start at Hype Cave because it's 5 very, very quick items. Some people choose to start up here by Village of Outcasts. Looks like both of these two have the same idea on that.
And clever idea filling up the Magic Titans Mitt in the Sea House. Nice. But I did want to compliment real quick both of the runners using their knowledge of where drop items are and getting the full magic.
Yeah, knowing, I would say that tree and the ferry below again are pretty much the 2 best bonk places to know.
And Josh electing to go into Skull Woods while Sin goes to Thieves Town. Potential of 3 items right in the opening because the other one's always going to be a big key. And make that 2 items because there's a compass.
Yep, and Skull Woods used to be the 100% bog standard play when going into Dark World. Because in about V26 through 27 especially, there was about a 33% chance Skull Woods had a progression item. That has gone down significantly in V29, but a lot of people still like to knock this out early.
Why not? If you find the 2 items early, even if it is a pendant dungeon, why not? At this early stage, you can make up for it pretty easy.
Yep, unfortunately for Josh, he has found none of the items so far. So we'll see if he heads back to the Vanilla Big Key chest with that Cane of Samaria. It'll be a little bit quicker than it normally is.
Yeah, it's go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead.
I was gonna say it's always nice to have that Cane of Samaria because it's really crummy having 2 dodge wall masters and Gibdos as you're trying to put that block into place, or the statue rather.
Yep, and wow, Sin just got trolled out of his mind by that little bubble in the sky.
Those things are mean. They don't look it, but boy, can they really get in your way.
So all that came out of Skull Woods so far was a big 20. So Josh probably slightly regrets his time spent there right now.
Disappointment, but like I said, it's still early on, so there's plenty of things to make up for. He may not even be behind. Who knows?
It's just one of those things as a racer when anytime you make a check and it doesn't pay out, your immediate thought is, my opponent isn't going to do this, I've now lost time on them.
My paranoia would tell me they've probably already gotten into go mode, but that's just my paranoia. And SuperJoshh making up for things by getting his mitts on the mitts.
Yeah, Village of Outcasts seems to be the play so far. Nothing really interesting out of Skull Woods, nothing out of Thieves Town, nothing at all out of Skull Woods of use.
We can full clear Thieves Town though, so that's good news. It always stinks when you don't have the hammer and you have an item locked behind the big chest there that you can't check for a while.
If I know a lot of people end up avoiding Thieves Town as long as they can if they don't have Hammer, just to try to avoid that exact situation.
But sometimes the way Rando rolls, you might not be able to help it. In my opinion, that's kind of half the fun.
I can agree with that. The map, the big chest this time, just a map, so they have the access to it right away, and the game says, I'm not putting anything important here.
And so we're gonna have a green male blind fight. This can be tricky. Hopefully the runners have practiced their script for blind here.
Yep, if you know what you're doing, blind is pretty much a free fight every time. If you mess it up at all or don't know what you're doing, it's one of the tougher ones.
And blind going to the optometrist.
Sin did get a little bit off script here. I'm pretty confident he's able to handle it, but he does have that blue potion if worst case scenario happens.
Yeah, blind starts to feel like a shmup if you go off script, so still making an easy time of it, and a bottle.
Hey, 3 out of 4 bottles.
Definitely good if you, at this point, if you get the bug catching net, it's a value kind of goes up a little bit, because then you can get some, as I call them, insurance fairies, if you want them.
Nice use of spin speed on the stairs to Thieves Town there.
That's actually pretty cool. I never thought to do that there.
I don't think I actually have ever realized that you could do that there. Not gonna lie.
I've learned a lot commentating for these matches here, and Sin learns that there's just a big 20 for the Hammer Pegs efforts.
But I'd imagine going down to Dig Game next, I'm going to take our dear friend the Frog on a little bit of a world tour.
Yeah, no mirror yet, so it's a bit of a longer go.
There could be the dream of mirror and purple chest, everyone's favorite logical required item.
Could be in Diggy Game. Let's see if we can dig what we find.
Dig Game, the best minigame, because you always make your money back with rupees.
Easily, and just a piece of heart there. But the thing, for those who don't know, the Dig Game is randomized, but it could be anywhere from 1 to 30 digs, but it is guaranteed at the 30.
30 dig game is the worst.
Especially if you just get some trash item.
And I guess it's worth adding in that it is the same for both players, so each of them will take the same amount of digs, but it is random per seed, so it kind of is one of many things that keep an element of randomness in the game, but also make racing 100% fair.
Yeah, it always stinks because if you were to have that randomized per player, because then, like you said, not fair.
Josh is in a little bit of a rough spot health-wise. He is just got out of anything will kill him mode, but he's got that blue potion, so he should be able to get through blind no problem. Pipe Cave starting out strong with a piece of heart.
And a full heart. And another piece of heart.
Oh, so close.
I'm pretty sure that this wasn't Hype Cave, but the organ donation keep of the Dark World.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. I'm just curious why they had a bomb bag in with the organs. Is that what they carry them with?
Yeah, probably. So, you know, now there's all kinds of sick Dark World kids who are going to be in some very big trouble now.
Going to be going to check the pyramid, which is good to get out of the way early, because if you don't check it early, it just becomes impossible to ever route.
And Josh using one of my favorite tricks, Cane of Samaria strats on blind. That is always fun to see.
That is, he did have to use that blue potion, but should make it through. Yep, there we go.
Just barely there. Good job, Josh. Also, for pyramid check, we had the magic powder, so we can check Batcave now.
Of course, immediately after clearing out both the light and dark world versions of Kakariko almost entirely. But we're bringing that Smith back home, and Magic Bat is right next door.
That works itself out. Great routing wise for Sin there.
Yep, it's kind of, if you weren't taking care of the frog, you would be very disappointed in that. But because you got the frog in tow, you're like, okay, I like this.
Sometimes in Rando, the routing works out for you. That's what I like.
Come all the way to visit Catfish, and he just gives you 20 rupees. What a guy.
I know, I wouldn't give anybody $20 for waking me up. I just give them a kick in the head.
Well, if you wake him up again, then he throws fire at you.
Fire in the hole. And we're checking King's Tomb now.
Yep, best time it's going to be to check it.
And just a piece of heart in there, so nothing much.
Now, of course, the downside for that check for Sin is when he gets the mirror, Graveyard Ledge is going to be all on its own with nothing else around to look at.
Yeah, that's going to be dicey, so if it does have a progression item, I can't suspect he's going to want to go back to that anytime soon.
Okay, now Josh is going to have, well, we're going to see the magic bat before we see if it's important for Josh to go to the pyramid or not.
And there's our bug catching net, so there we go, something I talked about earlier.
Smiths were making the ultimate Aga weapon.
Now that would be a fun sight. There, I haven't seen that used in a race, but you probably don't want to use that in a race unless you're not even worried about it. And just a bomb bag for the bat there.
Yep, so nothing there. And yeah, the bug net is actually pretty much no different than the sword for Aga 1. Aga 2, having to use the net is significantly harder.
The big question is, and something I've thought of but haven't encountered, is having bug catching net in logic for Aga.
It can't be a normal mode since you need to cut the curtains to get there, but in swordless mode, bug net is definitely a logic requirement for Aga.
Good to know. I always forget about those curtains cut.
So Sin grabbed up a couple potions and now headed back into the Dark World. We'll have to see where he's planned to head.
And Josh totally not happy with the organ bank, leaving some bombs with a certain letter on them.
But it was such a loving cave.
I know, right? I mean, it's where you keep in organs for donation.
Sin gonna go ahead and grab the purple chest, get this out of the way right now. I like that play. It's easy to forget if you don't.
Yeah, and it's probably the best way you're gonna do it too without the mirror in tow.
And I'm kind of wondering if those blue potions were bought with an anticipation of diving into Misery Mire after this purple chest, if the medallion is ether.
We're gonna find out, that is right. And big 20 inside the purple chest there, so nothing but lunch money. And you calls him.
I'm going to give a little bit of props for confidence if he does make this dip without a fire source, if it's ether, but...
Yeah, I mean, there's 12 hearts, but without the, just having green mail and being a little under-equipped, you're going to be really comfortable with those dark rooms right there. They can be brutal in Mire.
Well, the big concern with diving in now would be not having the lamp or the fire rod, which means that you can't actually get to the two chests on the left side. Doesn't mean the logic can't require you to do it, but it just always feels bad.
That too.
But Sin is saying, hey, I've got everything needed to clear this dungeon except a lamp. I'm gonna go for it.
This gamble could pay off in spades. We don't know yet, but it's. I'm actually excited to see if it does.
I am as well. I enjoy these early dips into the later game dungeons that are a little bit of a gamble in terms of your items and just total reliance on your own skill level to keep you alive.
It gets dicey in a hurry, especially here with BMOS here. Hey, whoa, there we go.
Yeah, this room, when you're not used to having neither sword beams nor fire rod, can throw you off pretty quickly.
Yeah, you always got to watch out for BMOS. He likes to laze around.
Okay, small key on the bridge. Josh dealing with Batman over here for disappointment. Gonna laugh when the lamp is just sitting here in mire as the fire source.
Yeah, I'm kind of almost expecting that myself.
Huh, that was really neat. Sin threw that pot and it hit both the Stalfos at the same time and double killed them.
Killing two Stalfos with one stone, I can really dig that.
A little bit of powder on that anti-fairy to get some health back, and then back to the right since the left can't be done yet.
That's where I really like the powder. At first, it doesn't even look like useful, even if you've done it. If you've done Rando 100,000 times. Hook shot, lovely hook shot.
That is big. We'll have to see if Josh is going to make the same play into Mire, if he's going to say, no, not right now.
That definitely makes Death Mountain a lot more appealing.
Yep, and Big Key is on the left side, so we can't complete the dungeon, but Sin now has the entirety of Death Mountain, Light and Dark World available to him. I wonder where he's going. Oh, what a shock. Death Mountain.
Really? I thought he was going to go to see Catfish again. No, I kid.
I don't know, Catfish seems like a good guy. I wouldn't mind going to visit him.
When he's awake, that is.
So the ultimate question becomes, where is the fire source? Because a lamp or a fire rod could be sitting in pod or... well, in pod is the stuff that we haven't seen yet. So it could just be sitting there waiting for them, and they could have cleared Mire in one go if they find it beforehand.
Yeah, there's still a few different places for it. I've noticed either pod or swamp tend to have the progression items they need way more often than not in my runs. So even if it is a pendant dungeon, I always say it's worth just checking it out.
And Josh is making the pod play. You know, it looks like Sin gained a good amount of time from getting that hook shot there. But if Josh can... Okay, Canterbury. If Josh can end up one-tripping Mire by finding a fire rod or lamp, that'll save a decent amount of time.
Yeah, even at almost 45 minutes in, it's still too early to tell. So that's still exciting. It's still anybody's game.
That's not going to work. Way too far to the right for that bomb jump. You want to have the rightmost pixel of your shadow aligned with that little dark line on the wall perfectly to get that bomb jump across the hole. If you're too far over, you do what Sin just did and kind of bounce off the wall and fall down.
Yeah, that's it'd be a little bit tricky if you don't have those bomb jumps lined up.
And Josh approaching the first chest in pod, and it's not bow-locked.
Thank goodness. I think, does he still have a potion? Did he get any potions? I don't recall if he did, but he could use the potion glitch if he, or the bottle glitch if he has potions.
I don't think he made a trip up to the witch, so he's probably going to get not be able to do that. There's a Quake medallion. So we got a 66% chance of having what we need for T-Rock, so it'll probably be Bombos. Followed up with silver arrows and a better source of minor amounts of lag.
And just a whole bunch of big 20s, unfortunately.
So Paradox Cave with the minor bit of usefulness by way of the silvers, but not much else going for it. Josh getting another small key in the vanilla big key spot, and heading down to the drop chest as Sin takes the long walk around to go back up to the top of Death Mountain.
And just another key for that chest there. So you're going to get a lot of keys in the front of pod here anyway, just because so you don't get locked out of it.
Hey, the magic cape up on the floating island.
Always helpful, but not always a requirement unless you have to go to Bumper Cave.
Just like to point out how insanely lucrative this Death Mountain trip is in terms of location checks, having the book already, having full Dark World access. You can just see everything.
And key in that turtle room. And now we make our dip into Hera. Quick, it's got a crystal. There's our big key. Lovely.
And your hope when you see the big key there is that you don't have an item in the basement.
Yeah, that tile room is never a fun one to have to wait around and have fun in.
And we get the Uncle 10 bomb drop in the bottom left chest of pod. Ironically, the dungeon with the most bombs just laying around for collection out of any.
That I did not know. I learn something new every day in these things.
I'm actually not 100% sure in that stat, but there are pots in like every segment of this dungeon, multiple pots with bombs. Like all 4 on the falling bridge have bombs. A couple of the ones up front, some of the ones in back.
And there's our other item, a beautiful fire rod. We have a light source now.
So, with pod not paying off for that lamp, I think that kind of confirms that a required double dip of mire is a thing in this seed. That's just rude.
Yeah, Rando sometimes just doesn't have the best attitude toward runners, but sometimes it makes for some good good races.
Now, when Sin dropped down, he did land a poke on Moldorm, so now has to deal with Speed Trolldorm. And that's never fun, but he gets it down.
No, thankfully, right on the first go. That's a fight you just want to go and get over with as soon as possible. And with the second crystal in hand, we now move on to big and better things. Bigger, rather.
Yep, and Josh, unfortunately, heading up here, up Death Mountain, going to be wasting this climb up, but he will be able to grab Berna, and if he chooses, he can do Spike Cave while he's up here. I assume he will once he gets that cane.
Not a bad idea. I mean, if it has something and your opponent doesn't check it for a while, that's a good way to snag a lead.
And I was curious if Sin was going to do this. He is going to go ahead and gamble Spiral Cave and just head right into the T-Rock portal to open it if it is Quaker Ether.
Hello, Bombos. Yeah, he's not too happy about that one, and I wouldn't be either. Oh goodness.
I knew the seed was too nice for it to be Ether Quake.
You calls him like you sees him.
Now we head into Super Bunny Cave, the cave that is named after a glitch that almost never comes up.
But it makes for some cool trivia, at least.
It does, and one of 2 places in a random run where you can actually do reasonably valuable sequence breaking with the Super Bunny glitch.
But here comes the hookshot cave check and the spike cave check right all at the same time. I'm getting hype here.
Starting off weak with $50.
Half magic ain't bad though.
Mirror is very nice.
And Blue Mail. Wow, hookshot cave, you are bringing the hype today. And just a piece of heart for Josh, but a heart refill that doesn't end up panning out in the end.
Sin has become indecisive, I think, at first there, over whether to go to Spiral Cave first or go over to Spike Cave. Chose Spike Cave.
Good idea to check it out anyway. I mean, like I said, peace of mind is always a good item to have.
And one thing that Sin did do here was skip the magic cape on the floating island, which we haven't seen either of these runners check the bumper cave. If that has an important item, he's going to have to make an extra trip up here for that cape.
And where the scene is starting to show its true colors, I would not be surprised if that one time there is something useful on Bumper Cave.
Maybe it can be the bow, so it can be like that seed. Just yesterday or 2 days ago, I think it was, where the bow was just chilling in plain sight for most of the race, and just no one had checked it yet.
Oh, that's painful. Ouch.
Yeah, it was on Desert Ledge. There was a clip going around of it. It was a real good moment.
I can imagine lots of bombs drop, anger slashes, anger pulls. What do you like to do?
I mostly just stick to a couple quick slashes, then moving along.
I'm an anger pulls guy myself. Gets the point across visually.
Sin heading to check the Bombos tablet, but I'm curious if he's going to go ahead and head into Swamp. Josh is making the play he needs to make heading back or heading into Mire.
Yeah, it's good to be able to fully check it now. And a big green rupee on the Bombos tablet. Ouch.
Well, Josh still can fully check it. He does not have any fire sores. He's just got to go in to get that hook shot and probably not feel very good when he sees it there.
Oh, that's a good point too. Yes, I forgot all about that.
I don't know how familiar Josh is with Sin, but as someone who has raced him a bunch of times on SRL, I would expect him to have dipped into Mire there, and quite frankly, if you know your opponent was going to do that and you find that progression there, you don't feel great.
But throwing the Murderdactyl into the pond is pretty cathartic, so that will hopefully alleviate some things.
This is a pretty satisfying way to be like, screw you, Seed. Why are you doing this to me?
And great entertainment for chat.
Josh is going to have a little bit easier time with this early room here because he's got sword beams active, so he can blow these things away from a distance. One of about, 3 times in the game where sword beams are good to have.
There's a use for just about everything in this game, and we got the first of our 6 Swamp Palace items. Just a bomb upgrade. Getting plenty of those today.
My usual thing I say is it's nice to get those upgrades early on, like your super early game checks, when you're going to be building up stuff before you're really having use for it. Getting them at this point in the run, a lot less exciting. Okay, so here's a question for you. Twice this week, in 6-0 matches, a runner has flooded the key on left side of Swamp. Will we see it again, yes or no?
I'm going to say no, just because I want to be optimistic. I've only personally seen it happen once, but boy, was that a bummer.
I'll go yes, just to make sure someone's right.
Yeah, that never feels good, and I would imagine, ooh, hey, there's a mushroom, so could still lead to something. But I would imagine if it's a 6-0 match, the nerves might get the best of you, and trying to get that perfect record, and have you do stuff you usually don't do.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. And Josh has had a little bit of trouble health-wise here in Meyer, but he got what he needed. He's going to get this small key over here, and then he's going to go, oh, back to Death Mountain.
We are going to see a couple of chests here. Let's see if these pan out. There is our entry into Turtle Rock, and Sin not too happy about that, but...
I like the single slash, just really.
Precisely. I mean, at least it's in a crystal dungeon, not a pendant dungeon.
True. Now the question is, you still need a bow, you still need an ice rod. That's all you need to complete this run. Do you just go to T-Rock, or do you start clearing out your Misery Mire, get the second item out of there first?
To be honest, if it's a... it is a crystal dungeon, so I would probably want to finish that up. I would be looking around, and I would still be full clearing dungeons as far as I'm concerned, because those two could still be almost anywhere.
Oh yeah, 2 almost worse items in the game to try to track down at the end, because bow locks, 4 locations upstairs GT, 3 in Pod, and 1 in Eastern, and Ice Rod locks 1 location in T-Rock.
And that was a gorgeous Fire Rod Argus strat there from Sin. Great job. I love that clear.
That was very nice, as all of his boss fights so far have been, except for getting a little bit off script on Blind. Actually got a little bit off script, so to speak, on Trolldorm as well, but handled it very nicely, and that's a good sign when you can get out of your comfort zone and still handle things without issue.
And I don't know how I missed it before, but Silver Arrows in the Paradox Cave. Wow. How did I miss that? That is an item I am always excited to see.
Yep, those were definitely a nice little find back there.
Yeah, if they can find the bow, bosses are going to go down hard. So Sin going to check out the left side. I would do that as well.
Yep, and routing-wise has made sure that flooding the key is impossible. Going to be looking for these items. It's left side is something that you always want to try to gamble, but when you gamble it and it goes wrong, it goes very, very wrong.
Yeah, at least with the mirror, you can peace out instead of having to plod all the way back to the middle room here and finish off the dungeon.
Josh getting his reward of a piece of heart from the ether tablet, going to be heading into Hera himself, finding that fire rod and going, "Really, Seed? This is what you made me do."
Seed may like the double dipping, but racers think it's gross.
It's one of those things where chat is super happy and the runners just silently weep.
Oh yeah, and chat, we all know chat's always out for blood, but we love them anyway.
So we'll see if going back in for Left Side Swamp pays off or not. It's one of those things like I mentioned with going into a check that doesn't pay off earlier. Hey, bottle number 4.
And covered in bees, no less, like an Eddie Izzard skit.
And $50. Entirely not worth. I don't think Sin needed that 4th bottle. Definitely didn't need another $50.
You know, bottle could have been worse, I guess, but still kind of crummy.
And straight over to the cave south of the Haunted Grove, also known as the cave that has a million names.
I call it K45, and yeah, not happy about that blue rupee there.
Now, returning to the Dark World and heading north here. I'm kind of curious where he's headed at the moment.
And Josh got to be careful. Trolldorm is living up to his nickname there.
It's one of those bosses that isn't super bad, but as soon as you mess up, it goes terribly wrong.
Oh, we call him Trolldorm for a reason, and even the best have fallen to him at one point or another, so there really is no shame in it. It's just annoying.
Yep. Josh, meanwhile, does get it down without an issue, gets that last hit with the hammer, which is a pretty nice way to end it. And important information, that cape was not required. You are lucky, Sin.
Thank goodness, Seed not bearing its fangs in that method.
Now we gotta head over to Graveyard Ledge. Hopefully... I don't know if I should hope there's value here or not. It's one of those locations that is awful.
Oh, it could have Ice Rod, could have Bow, could be worthless. Let's see. Worthless.
Yep, and Josh is checking the location that Sin skipped earlier for a different blue shirt.
So we know where all the males are, definitely, so, good to know.
Yep, he will be getting that red mail in Hookshot Cave.
And more, clever use of that speed glitch there. Just a red meringue for the efforts, though.
Yep, and not many people are going to pick up the worst boomerang.
The boomerang does have its fringe uses, but at this point, it's very, very highly unlikely.
Yeah, but they already got the better boomerang.
Although, well, of course, but you know what I mean.
It's less laggy. Red Meringue is actually valuable in some places, but Bloomerang lags less, and that makes a lot of us like it more. Sin going through this again, this time armed to the teeth with the fire rod and sword beams, and went a lot smoother than the first time through.
And SuperJoshh finding out about that Bombos tablet now.
So I'm going to sit here and hope for, let's say, Bow on Vitreous. Just to be like, ha, you could have used those silver arrows on me, but I had the bow.
No clear eyes for you.
And Vitreous does have the second item, because the big key is going to be vanilla. So they will have to wait until Vidi is dead to see what they get.
It is kind of nice, though, not having the silver arrows, because there's all kinds of different strats you can use on him. So that's, it's going to be really exciting to see what they do.
It's true. Also, I'm disappointed in myself that I didn't watch to see if Sin set up the Meyer glitch. I don't think he did, but I didn't pay enough attention to know if that could be coming.
Now, which glitch are we talking about here for Meyer?
What's it I've heard it been called? Spooky action glitch. It pretty much allows you to hit a couple of locations with a manipulated height variable for the fire rod that causes you to end up hitting switches that are not even on the screen.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he set that up myself, but we'll have to see what happens on that one.
And I'm getting a little bit of confirmation that he didn't set it up. So, there is the original way the glitch was found is possible to do within Meyer, but it's a very minor time save in Rando. It's really only important in NMG. It's just fun to watch people do. I forgot the big chest wasn't checked, but the item's still on Vitreous, so, you know, I was right just a little bit early.
Nothing wrong with that. And you know what is the right idea?
What's that?
That would be following the runners. They've been doing a fantastic job, so if you like what you've seen so far, please give them a follow. Hit that follow button, and you'll get to see all the cool stuff that they do on their off time when they're not racing. So they've earned it so far.
They absolutely have. Both of them have been playing quite well. I would say a couple of Josh's round decisions just haven't worked out as well for him, and that's why you see a little bit of a difference here. But he has been playing very well.
That's why they call them gambles. Sometimes they work out beautifully, sometimes they don't.
Sin taking advantage of Kane and Burner there to get through the spike room of Meyer a little bit easier. The easiest, most consistent setup for that room in the dark is to just take 2 hits of damage. But when you got Master Sword Vitreous coming up, saving that health is not a bad idea.
Yeah, that's going to get a little bit dicey, so, but I suspect Sin is going to have a fairly cinchy time with it, because once you get past the first part of it, the hard part is essentially over.
Very true, and going to get a little bit of magic head in here, and Josh is making the play into Swamp. The same play Sin made that will pay out with equally little of value.
And keep your eyes peeled on this fight, everybody.
Using the low percent strats, which are also the NMG strats, just with Tempered Sword of damage boosting with the goop, and then using spins, then switching to Kane and Brian to just slash away.
And with half magic too, that's nice to have. And we have moved on to the easier phase 2.
Yep, it's not quite as easy without the bow, but Vitreous hugs do hurt, and if you miss time just a little bit, you're gonna get hugged. But Sin did end up getting that hug. It's a good thing he drank that potion.
Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, so there we go. Very easy clear despite the hit.
All that for a heart piece.
But the crystal is the best progression of all, and that makes number 4 now for Sin.
Yep, and in addition, that opens up one new location as well. With that, 5 and 6 crystals from Thieves Town and Meyer, Sin can now choose to go do the Pyramid Ferry, choosing instead to make the long-awaited trip back to Desert, which he can now full clear, so we may see the item on Lammolas.
Couldn't hurt. I mean, out of all the pendant dungeons you could clear, this is one of the quickest ones, so not a bad idea, I think.
Yep, and for Sin, you got that little bit of paranoia. You came in here right before getting the boots early in the race. You know, if there was something important that was just boots locked, then you're kind of concerned about that. So you want to come back here at some point.
Yeah, I've seen Desert, at least in the last week or so, be a pretty big playmaker, so it's not a bad idea.
Josh over here is going to be coming up on a very important decision. If he chooses to not go left side, if he chooses to gamble those 2 items, he would make up a bit of time, but it would be a poor gamble to make, and he is already choosing to do left side right away.
And then it's a gamble. I honestly tend to do left side first myself to get it out of the way if I can full clear it. But, you know, it's always personal preference on that one.
Yeah, the general thing behind people skipping left side first when they aren't looking for just one more item is if the boss has the big key, you don't need to come back in. So it comes out, I think, a little bit faster to save it or to do it first, but not by much.
Yeah, it's still a slog of a dungeon to go through if you have to full clear it, no matter how you clear it.
And we are going to get to see what's on Land Molus with half magic and fire rod. This fight is going to be comically simple. So at this point, if Land Molus doesn't have the progression, you're Sinhe, where do you head next?
Oh goodness, that is a good question. We haven't seen much out of Pod or Easter, and there's still quite a few places to check. That is a tough one indeed.
Yeah, they have a lot, or Sin especially has a lot of options open. It hasn't dipped into Pod. Ice Palace is fully completable. T-Rock is completable up to Trinex. There are a few smatterings of overworld locations, not very many.
Has Sin checked Checkerboard Cave yet?
I don't believe so, actually. I know Josh did, and it was nothing. Or, no wait, I don't think Josh did either.
I think that would be my first place to check right from here. Just go back into the Dark World to do that, but I think Sin's got some other ideas here.
Gonna go ahead and check Pyramid Fairy, which is a relatively slow check, but not a bad idea to check.
And rude pot for Josh there. Sometimes that is tricky to pick up when it's halfway over like that, so...
That's correct. Josh went to check Checkerboard Cave, but didn't have Mirror yet. So I don't think either of them have, actually.
Could very well have something. I probably wouldn't end up putting it off too long, but yeah, I probably would have checked Pyramid Fairy as well, once I remembered I had both of the red crystals.
And then you just have that... I would say the main decision after that point is Pod versus dipping into T-Rock. That's a tough decision, and if he chooses to go Pod, it's going to give Josh back a good chunk of time.
As a racer, if I didn't know it, I probably would end up gambling Pod would have the bow or some progression, but that would be a gamble I would make. I always like to leave Turtle Rock for last, so that way it's just a hop, skip, and a jump over to Ganon's Tower. And bow! Pyramid Fairy, a perfectly fine play to make. So I think we're going to see him go over and do Pod now right from here.
Yep, absolutely going to go clear out Pod and Eastern. If those come up empty at this point, I'm almost certain he'll just go right up to T-Rock looking for that Ice Rod up there.
Could very well be in there, and it's kind of the last-ditch play to make. But with 5 items there, plus the Mimic Cave right on the way there, not a bad idea to check there anyway.
Yep, and Ice Rod is infamous for its love of showing up in T-Rock, so...
Though it's shown up in some weird places before, I've seen it on Batcave.
And that is one of the interesting ones. Josh going with a little bit more consistent, easier to pull off strategy of just 4 spins on Argus.
No matter what, Argus isn't that hard of a boss as far as bosses go, so bit of a breather boss there, nothing to worry about.
So now for Josh, that bow being in Pyramid Fairy is actually a pretty big deal, because he dip pod cleared out everything without the bow, has to double dip. Sin is going to get to single dip it, clear out Eastern while he's here as well. That is actually a pretty significant time loss in a dip a pod that he could have gotten back from Sin if the bow were not there.
Yeah, it's always a bummer having to double dip, but you know, being a racer, if you don't know where something is, it really is hard to tell with the logic sometimes what it wants you to do. Look at that gorgeous clear of the mimics by Sin there, very nicely done.
Josh getting his disappointment of the red meringue, but gonna buy a potion or two while he's here.
Hey, get something useful out of it anyway, so hey, why not?
And there's one of the items we didn't see in pod the first time, the riot shield.
Always a good thing to have. I like the shields, even though you gotta invest in it a little bit, because once you power that up, you get some really useful protection.
To some extent, yeah. The only downside is, you know, it can be a little bit off-putting, especially rando you don't necessarily get shields. So sometimes that visual of having the shield there can throw off your cues a little bit.
That's a good point I never actually thought of.
Also, as a small aside, it causes a very, very minor amount of lag, and everyone hates very, very minor amounts of lag. But the shield itself is actually useful, especially going to T-Rock and Laser Bridge, making that very, very easy.
And then a minor use of the Red Mimic in Ganon's Tower, and we'll be able to use it here in Pod 2, because I'll say it once and I say it again, spitting is a dirty habit from those Red Mimics.
I'm not gonna lie, when I get the Mirror Shield, I always forget that I can actually just face the Mimics and kill them.
Yeah, it is one of those minor uses, but always good, always good.
So the rest of the backup pod here we've already seen. We won't be seeing anything new on Sin's side until after Helmasaur.
And Josh finding his disappointment on the graveyard ledge. And I think is now going to make the dip in the mire.
Yep, which we know at this point is the play. It's all going to come down to the Ice Rod positioning.
And there's our big key in the Harmless Hellway, so we're going to be seeing some more fun.
Oh, he's doing it. He's checking Checkerboard Cave.
Let's see what it's got for us. Just a heart container, and at that point, I mean, plenty of hearts, so not necessarily needed.
Womp, 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 womp. Okay, now he did not go back into Mire. He's on the mountain, which makes me think he's making that Turtle Rock gamble.
This could pay off. I'm pretty stoked. But without the bow, he's not going to be in go mode.
Yep, and the downside for him is if he finds what he needs to complete T-Rock here, it's almost certainly a massive advantage to Sinhe, because I expect Sin to go to T-Rock after Pod and Eastern.
Yeah, because that's pretty much the last little bit of dungeons there are, so I wouldn't blame him. Ooh.
Yeah, we haven't seen anything from Ice Palace yet, but nobody wants to go to Pendant Ice Palace.
Oh, goodness, no.
Okay, I am stealing the use of that cane there to get that red beetle out of the way. I always just walk out of the room and walk back in to not deal with it.
That's why I say the Cane of Samaria is such a useful utilitarian item. I love it.
Here we go. Sin headed down to Helmsor, Josh heading into T-Rock. Let's see what both of them end up with. At this point, I would say that Josh's best hope would be if the Ice Rod was, say, back of Skull Woods, and it just happened to be the last place Sin checked, but he is not going to have an easy time making up the difference there is right now.
No, it's pretty tricky, but as I always say too, it ain't over until the fat lady sings. I've seen some pretty cool come from behind victories.
Absolutely. That's why I made sure to say not easy. It's not impossible, just he's got a very rough road if he wants to pull this one off.
Turtle's being a little bit mean to Sin there.
They were. That room is awful in the pure dark. With the fire rod, it's usually not bad, but sometimes things just go wrong.
Rude, Turtles. Rude. And we're about to see if the Ice Rod was actually in the left chest above here where Josh is going to check, so it would be funny if it was there again. Nope, not like last night. Just 2 keys.
Double small key. Now, you kind of hope for the big key, but if you don't get the ice, or you can't avoid that chest regardless, so the order of stuff in T-Rock doesn't matter until go mode.
And 1 shot, 1 kill, just like Gogol 13 for Sin. And that's all Helmsor wrote. There's our Ice Rod.
So at 1 hour and 22 minutes, Sin is in go mode. And as much as I hate to say it, at this point, it would take a disaster for Josh to have a chance of coming back in the seed.
That is tough, but just sometimes that's just how Rando rolls here. And there's our lamp. After all that time in Turtle Rock.
I'd just like to point out that means that logic required a double dip into Turtle Rock to change on room for the lamp, back to pod for the Ice Rod.
Wow, Logic, you are crazy. Go put your straitjacket back on.
So the main question on Sin's side is, how many chests will he check? No, wait, he's going to T-Rock next. He's not checking any extra chests for Tempered. There's really nowhere in T-Rock that's like right in the way where you're just going to grab it on the way past. You're grabbing chests looking for keys anyway. You're not opening extra stuff for swords.
Sometimes it's not a bad idea to check that big key chest. Not the big key chest, the big chest, but getting a big key from the big key chest there, so my speech patterns work out as bizarre as they are in the morning.
And that actually pretty much means that you're almost insane if you don't check the big chest, since you would potentially run out of key even earlier.
And good use of using the fire rod on those Hokubokus. Those are really a pain to deal with if you can't one-shot them.
I will forever hate the Pokies when Fire Rod is on Laser Bridge and you gotta deal with them with no Fire Rod and a Fighter Sword.
Sounds like that's coming from personal experience, Mentos.
It may be. Now we see the most comical, overpowered fight in the game, Silver Arrows Armos.
And we have our crystal number 5 now, and we'll soon be getting crystal number 6. And Josh in Mimic Cave now.
A location we absolutely won't see from Sin. I'm gonna laugh. There's a sword here.
Well,
Okay, yep, I laughed at that one. That was great.
boy, you've really been calling him like he's a Mentos. You get some psychic powers there.
Apparently. Please don't burn me.
If you calm my matches, I want you to use it for the power of my good, okay?
I guess, but I mean, in this case, I'm using it for the power of Josh's good and Sin's disappointment, because there is virtually no chance Sin is checking Mimic Cave.
No, but there's still one more sword upgrade somewhere out there that we don't know of.
Let's go with GT Big Chest. And let's be honest, if Ganon wanted to be safe, he would just put everything in the big chest of Ganon's tower, because nobody ever looks there.
Why the heck would you in Rando? I mean, once you find that big key, you want to go fight Ganon.
So Sin is going to be in T-Rock, getting the lamp that is logical go mode. Probably not long after SuperJoshh finishes Laser Bridge and says, "Oh, I have to leave."
With a whole bunch of sadness in tow.
Yep, and unfortunately this has been one of the runs for him that I think most people who have done races of this game have had, where you've made decisions that are very solid routing decisions, and the seed just said, "No, sorry, those weren't the right answers."
That's never a good feeling, and that's why I always make it a point. Yeah, because the routers make some good decisions. I've been seeing a lot of good decisions from Josh and Sin so far. It's just a matter of which ones, like you said, that pan out, which ones don't.
Then adding in a nice little sword slash after each torch, and then getting the quick hook shot off to the right side.
Flashy, I like it.
And throwing in Cane Dash, which saves you literally 0 time, but looks real cool.
Little thing to entertain the bloodthirsty chat.
Now Josh, lamp in tow, will be heading into Mire, checking the 3 chests and Vitreous, and then probably at this point headed to Pyramid Fairy, because I don't think he has any other item that's not Pendant Ice Palace.
No, that's dicey, and I hope he doesn't dip into Ice Palace. I don't think he will, but we'll have to see here. When it's hard to find items, it is easy to get confused. Well, not so much confused, but make some routing decisions, which may not be the best. But I think there's a low chance of that happening.
Yeah, we kind of discussed earlier how both of these runners had reason to be concerned about trying to win this match, and you're sitting at what's potentially, or what is, an elimination match. Your only hope of surviving is to win, and your routing decisions haven't been paying off. You're going to get more and more tempted to make those big gambles near the end, because you're starting to think, my opponent didn't make these mistakes. If it's not something I can gamble big on, I have no hope. Speaking from personal experience, tournament elimination matches are terrifying.
Oh, missing that big key. Sin is not impressed by that.
I was waiting for that from the moment he walked away with that Poke Key.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure a small key would fit inside and go through the door, which would be very disappointing if the game allowed you to do that.
Well, time to reset. Key's on the other side of the door forever now.
There we go.
To be fair, I feel like the small keyholes are too big for the small keys as well.
That too is a good point.
So now we get to see Josh do the Meyer dark rooms in the light, which is so much nicer.
A small consolation prize, anyway.
Now Sin will walk right by the tempered sword that would make Ganon so much easier. Let's all wave to the tempered sword as we pass by, chat. Bye, tempered sword.
I guess we can say Sin lost his temper.
Okay, well played on that one. I like that.
Thank you, I have my moments.
So Josh is, as mentioned, going through a much easier experience in Meyer. Sin goes over there looking for either a key or a sword, whichever it could have been.
Yeah, I feel bad just from experience on Josh. I had to double dip Turtle Rock once just because Trinex was just handing me my behind in an under-equipped fight. So I'm feeling for him right now.
I think it was my week 2 match. I triple dipped TR. That was awful.
There was an earlier match too that was like just a teensy bit away from a required triple dip of Turtle Rock.
Now Josh, who took the moment to pick up the cape on the floating island, just turns the cape on, dashes through these eyeballs, makes it a much easier fight than Sin.
I love seeing dash strats too. It's always a lot of fun to just see those.
If I recall, it's a little bit faster to do spin strats than dash strats with the cape, but it's so much less satisfying.
Sometimes it's an entertainment satisfaction versus practicality, and that's what makes the races more entertaining sometimes.
And then Josh with a very clean, victorious fight, start to finish.
You don't have to be perfect. You just got to do it first. And picking up the crystal.
Now, will Josh head to Pyramid Fairy?
Hopefully so. I mean, he's kind of running out of locations here.
And Sin just blowing that ice head away with Fire Rod while waiting for the fire head to blow up. Very, very well done on phase 1 of Trinex.
Yeah, from personal experience, Master Sword Trinex was not easy, and when I tried to use the hammer, it got even worse. So, very, very big kudos to an expert clear for Sin on Trinex.
Yeah, anyone out there learning Rando, I highly recommend you learn to do that hammer Trinex fight as well as Sin just did, because it will pay off for you over and over and over again running this game.
And if nothing else, you will earn the admiration and respect of your viewers. Oh yes, and there are 22 possible locations the big key in Ganon's Tower could be. Get your guesses in now. If you have donated 250 bits or you are a subscriber to the Speed Gaming, any of the Speed Gaming channel networks, you get leaderboard points. All runners-up will get a coupon for a free drink at the Tower of Hera Cafe. Great for coffee breaks.
Now see, that just sounds like a pretty pleasant place to be.
Exactly. You ought to check out the mosaic tile art on the wall.
The question is, do you have to be in the room with Trolldorm?
Nah, he's just management. And here we go, number 1, just having bombs, and number 2 already.
Well,
if
I
you
was
guessed
asked
2,
where you thought it would be, but
yeah, Rando doesn't want us to know, but I'm gonna tell it anyway. Firebar room. What would you have guessed?
I always guess 22, just 'cause I enjoy seeing the basement of GT. So yeah, well done to the first Silver supporter who guessed correctly, who was Sergeant Chief.
Congratulations! For all
And,
you runners-up, enjoy your coffee.
and Josh is doing the play that could have got him back in the race if the seed were just a little bit different. But unfortunately for him, is not going to be.
Ouch. That's painful.
Yep, and if Sin has a clean GT, it's going to take about as long to get through GT as it's going to take Josh to full clear ice and realize that there's nothing there.
I can't fault him looking for the bow, for checking Ice Palace. It can be easy to forget that you do have the red crystal sometimes, and with the bow being with as many locations as it can be, it's not the worst of ideas, but that bow can be a really tricky find. I don't blame him for going off the beaten path for trying to find it.
Absolutely, and with his pod dip not paying off, getting into Mire later, I'd imagine he's got to be feeling pretty behind, and ice is the kind of gamble you make in the sea like this when you feel behind.
Yeah, it's the big gamble that unfortunately is not going to pay off for Josh, as we as viewers and commentators know.
Sin going for the long distance arrow hits, misses the first two, gets the third one in.
Landmollas can be tricky. You gotta hit it just right, and it does take a little practice. And a beautiful clear of the Stalfos Knights there in one shot.
We'll see soon if he's going to bother to do the Ice Palace bomb jump while Sin gets to deal with my favorite rooms in the game, the GT Wizrobe rooms.
I love seeing this too, especially the second one. I mean, Sin making it look so easy, but it is one of the trickiest rooms, and it takes a lot of practice. I haven't been able to personally do it yet.
It is super, super satisfying to pull off.
And, oh, not quite hitting the bomb jump there. The bomb jump is tricky. For those new players who are still working on pulling it off, what's your tip? Because there's many different ways to figure it out.
It really depends. If you play with different sprites, you can use different lineups. Really, the sprite that I play with is the Neon Link sprite. I have a very easy visual cue for that. But the best idea is to look at a tutorial that has the coordinates for the practice hack listed on it, get yourself to those coordinates, and then just find a visual cue that helps work for yourself.
Great advice, Mentos. Thank you. And now we are at Moldorm 2, who I have dubbed Moldezuma.
Well, he went down very quickly.
Moldezuma will not have his revenge, but I name it because it's kind of a pretty crappy place to fall in a close race.
Yeah, it really is. And the final chest of the game, having 10 arrows in case you blew all those silvers on your way up GT. You know, okay, you're going to be doing Master Sword Silvers Ganon, here's some arrows.
And you know, I think that's one of the only locations where you're going to actually want some arrows. So, better find than most.
Definitely a whole lot better than the vanilla 20.
This trig agonometry working out for Sin here. I like it.
Unfortunately, that phase 3 went a little bit rougher.
Yeah, my last one just went rough all the way around, so I can feel that.
Gets Aga down decently quickly. Sin's heart is probably going very, very fast right now, not realizing that he could take a little bit of a break here, and his opponent would still be working on catching up.
Yeah, if you're a runner, though, the best thing to do is just imagine your opponent is like 10 seconds ahead of you, and that don't panic, but just kind of think about that, and that's what I would be doing.
Yep, it's you always want to assume the best of your opponent, because that's going to push you to keep playing well instead of starting to lose your focus. The moment you start saying, I think I've done well, my opponent's probably, behind, that's when you start making mistakes.
Yeah, you don't want to let your guard down. If you make too many mistakes, that adds up, and sit in the corner getting a good lot of spin hits. Very nice luck there.
Yeah, not quite enough to take it through in one cycle, but just needs these last 3 here, and that's it for phase 2.
Very skillful dodging from Sin there, and we are now in phase 3.
Yep, and the hard part of Master Sword again is done now. The Silvers is not much different with Master versus Tempered.
Thankfully, Master Sword's serverless is not a thing today, so... Ooh! Josh getting Cold Stare in the corner, but Cold Stare sneaking out. Rude!
Takes the rest of it down pretty quick despite the falling out of the plan, so to speak. Gets the map and this green pendant that he will probably take straight to Sahasrara.
And Sin not getting the torch glitch, but not a big deal here. Just gotta move calmly and carefully.
Nice setup for... Oh!
Oh, Ganon hugs are
the
the worst
pain.
hugs.
Oh, Sin. You see, the thing is, he's got such a lead that doesn't matter, but in his mind, he just gave Josh the lead.
Yeah, that's a point where I would definitely be uttering some 4-letter words right now that I daren't repeat.
I would just be repeating, please no. So now a super clean phase 1 and 2 again, and then that phase 4 just kind of fell apart on him. He gets the corner again, so he's going to get a pretty quick phase 2 again.
Does want to be careful though with no safeties. Whoa! Yeah, you don't want to be getting hit by them bats.
Yeah, they hurt less with blue mail, but they still hurt.
Oh, they still take off a good chunk of damage though. And oh, there we go. Oh, there. He had a potion the whole time too. Dang.
Oh, Josh is going all in. He's going to go clear Mothula and gamble on Pedestal, which he never checked.
I think at this point, I'm starting to think he's feeling like so behind right now, which, I think he's just, he's like going all in for it.
Yeah, he has definitely hit that point in the race where it's just like, I need the worst case scenario to have a chance here, so I just have to go.
And there's a worst case scenario, Wallmaster giving him a hand right back. I am feeling for Josh right now. I have had to repeat this back of Skullwood 6 times once. It was ugly.
I just want to give a shout out to that Wallmaster for trying to save Josh from this mistake.
But who listens to Wall Masters, though, you know?
Nice double, and that will do it.
And that is all she wrote. So we've got about a 1 hour 45-minute play by Sin. Great job, GG.
GG indeed. And with him walking through the Triforce Store, the official SRTV time I really enjoy is 1:44:44.
So that brings Sin up to 5-1-1, and Josh to the Mothula fight.
So Sin, congratulations on making brackets. Welcome. And I just want to point one thing out for those watching in chat. Josh did a spin attack to start that Mothula fight. Spin attacks with Tempered do 0 damage to Moth. So never spin attack with Tempered.
Still had a quick Mothula fight, though, so it didn't really hurt in that respect that time, thankfully. And I think we're getting our ped check. Yeah, we're getting a ped check anyway. I'm curious. And, oh, they're not even trying with Sahasrah's name there. I love it.
Congratulations, you've won 10 arrows that you don't have capacity for! Woo!
Arrowed! Ow, my skin.
Gonna bomb the pedestal like mad. Doesn't even care getting caught in the own explosions. He knows that it's over. He knows that he has unfortunately been eliminated from this tournament. We've said it many times here, but he played quite well. He made decisions that I don't disagree with at all. It's just they weren't the decisions that worked for this seed.
It just stinks when it doesn't pan out like that, and that happens to me more often than not. So I feel for Josh quite a bit here.
And we are joined by our winner, Sinhe. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. Hi, guys.
Hey, Sin, GG, man, that was a heck of a seed there.
It certainly was. I was more surprised about Turtle Rock being actually super empty, except for the lamp.
You did miss one thing in Turtle Rock, in Mimic Cave.
Okay, and I guess it was a sword upgrade?
Yep, it was a sword.
Oh, God damn it. Well, I'm all cool with Master Sword, but yeah, that's really unfortunate. I had absolutely no reason to check Mimic Cave at all by the time. Especially the derp when I missed the big key in Turtle Rock. That was kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, Josh was going through T-Rock just a bit before you, but without the bow and without the ice rod. And so he was checking Mimic Cave, and I'm like, I'm gonna laugh if this is a sword, because I know Sin is not gonna think of checking it. And then, oh, there's Tempered. Hey.
Oh my goodness. Well, it was tempting to go into Turtle Rock early, because it was available. I had bombos from Swamp, I think it was, and then Fire Rod. But then I just took a crazy gamble. What if the lamp is the only item in Turtle Rock? And you have to backtrack anyway, so I went to do Maya, finished that off, and then actually had the progression line at the double-chested parry. So that gamble paid off, yeah.
And funny enough, the lamp was in Turtle Rock after all, because Josh checked that.
Yeah, in the chain jump room.
Oh, what a hoot.
Yeah, and the death to Ganon, that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how'd you like that hug?
Yeah, I was setting up for a triple there, and then accidentally running into him. Unintended, that is. Oh well, it happens.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad of a time loss, all things considered.
Yeah.
And the vampire skewers sleep again forever.
So after being tossed into limbo with that tie in week 1, now 6 weeks later, you're sitting at 5-1-1 and qualified for brackets. How does that feel?
It feels great, actually. I mean, it was my initial goal to at least go for the bracket stage. If I get eliminated at this point, it was worth everything. I was kind of nervous during this match because I didn't know my opponent at all. And I'm not the kind of guy that goes ahead and kind of stalks his opponent beforehand to get a possible advantage. So it was kind of nerve-wracking. Me,
Yeah, I can understand that. There's a lot on the line there, so and you played it well. You look fantastic. You didn't even look nervous at all in the play.
well, I tried to execute as best as possible, as I could, or can actually. Also, that was, quite frankly, the first triple fire rod shot that I got off on Argus. It was something.
Oh yeah, I definitely commented on that. That was like one of the cleanest fire rod Argus fights I'd ever seen. That was great.
I have never had that before. That was the first time that actually succeeded.
Good job on that one, then. I'm gonna practice. I'm starting to do that as awesome as you.
Just as an update for everyone, SuperJoshh has decided to go ahead and forfeit after getting that bow in Pyramid Fairy. So he is done with his run. He will be joining us here in just a moment.
Yeah, that was definitely some rough stuff there for him. Like I said, like I've said before, I feel for him. So that's it can get tough.
Yeah, especially the bow location was ugh.
Yeah, that was kind of a weird location. I think I've seen it in some weird locations over the past week. I saw it on the island there as one location for it earlier.
Oh my god. Well, I was kind of expecting the bow before Misery Mire or being the second item in Misery Mire itself. Unfortunately, Vicious was once again blocking the bow. Ugh, I hate when it happens. Especially when the game is teasing you with silver arrows.
Oh yeah, there's so many places this sea was just rude.
Well, there we go. Hello?
How's it going, Josh? Welcome to the conversation here.
Good race.
Yeah, GG, Josh.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I mean, my goodness, that thing was just dragging you in like every kind of different direction and all kinds of red herring. I feel for you, man.
Bombos that was trying to send me to Turtle Rock, but Turtle Rock didn't have anything but the lance.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was just mean right there.
Yeah, a lot of the time difference here. Sin jumped into Mire pretty much right away when it was possible, whereas you had kind of delayed it till later. You dipped into pod without the bow. Sin was able to go into pod with the bow, clear it in one go. Just little things where you guys made different decisions and Sins were all paying off, and you were kind of stuck on the other end of that coin.
I never really expected to win this race, especially since Sinhe is an amazing player at this game. Only figuring I was going to go 0-7, but I won 3 games, so for me.
Well, based on what I saw there, you were definitely underestimating yourself if you thought you were going to go 0-7. You played very well throughout that whole thing.
You absolutely did. I agree with that one right there. I wouldn't sell yourself short.
Well, thank you for the compliment, and thanks for the commentary, the tracking, and Sinhe for handing it to me.
Shoot. So, but yeah, definitely a rough seed there, I would have to admit.
Figure when we was getting a bunch of items in Kakariko that I might have had a chance to do routing to a win if I did everything right, because I wasn't going to win on execution, but it just didn't pay out for me.
Yeah, that's just sometimes that's just how Rando rolls, and you know how it is. Rando likes to be mean more often than not. I mean, a required double dip in a turtle rock for that lamp. I mean, wow.
Yeah, where was the ice rod?
It was
Ice
on
rod was-
Bulbasaur.
Okay, that makes sense.
To be honest, I wouldn't have expected it to even remotely be in the way at all.
So
And,
look, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say go ahead.
So looking forward, Josh, unfortunately with this loss that does eliminate you from this tournament, planning to stick around for next tournament that comes up, come back and join again?
Yeah, absolutely. I plan to watch the rest of this tournament because I like watching Rando more than I like playing it. Tournament, and I will definitely join the next one as long as it's not Key Sanity.
I don't blame you on the last part. I know that feeling.
I don't even want to try and
Go
wrap
ahead.
my head around that one at this moment. Goodness.
And I'm glad to hear that you're looking to try to come back to the next one. Like I said, you played very well. I think that as your execution gets better, you're going to be very, very scary as a runner.
And who knows if I go
I would like to draw you as it is, nonetheless, after even more practice.
And who knows, maybe when if I jump into the next tournament, maybe it'll be you and I. I would not mind having you as an opponent.
Yeah, that would be great. Any a good race. This one wasn't one of them. My race last week was 34 seconds. I was
Ooh.
glad to be part of, even though I lost. That was still a really good race. One is to put on a good show.
Hey, well, I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. I'm glad you went in there and did your best. I would say. So I guess my last thing that I got is any final thoughts from either of you?
Actually, no. Just wanna say big shout outs to your commentators. Thanks for commentating this, as well as Dude for the tracking and Fiesel, which is running the restream. I'm really looking forward to watching the board of this race.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say, and I'll be rooting for Sinhe in the knockout stage.
Thank you.
And I'll throw a bit of that right back at you guys. Thank you guys for the race. It was a very fun one to commentate. We knew going in that this was kind of high stakes for both of you. It was a tense start. It was exciting to watch along and see where the seed took you. So I was glad to be a part of this one.
Ditto here. I had a great time comedy match here, and thank you very much for giving us an enjoyable race. So, Mentos, any final thoughts for you?
So I'll throw out a little bit of an update on how this impacts the rest of the tournament. With Sinhe winning, that means there will be 2 4 and 3s moving on to the bracket stage. Barring any more drops, it is confirmed there will only be 2 moving on. So the number of spots open for that tiebreaker to matter have come out at the minimum just a few days into this week.
So it's definitely not over yet, but they're definitely going to